Hey everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Bastock and Bachelor Bullshit Busters. I'm Simon Batchelor,
I'm Adam Bastock.
and this week we are going to be talking about whether it's time to move on from Mailchimp. So, a lot of businesses out there will be using Mailchimp, and a lot of businesses will be relying on it to send their newsletters and other emails and announcements and all sorts. We've been using Mailchimp as an agency, and we've got hundreds of customers that are all on Mailchimp. And recently, we have decided to move away from Mailchimp. So before I talk too much about why we've done that and what we've moved to, I think it's just worth sort of giving a quick summary, really, of what Mailchimp sort of is known for and sort of what Mailchimp has become. So Adam, do you want to give us a quick overview of what Mailchimp is and what it's really good at?
Yeah, so Mailchimp kind of came to dominance, I guess, probably about 8, 10 years ago now, where it was kind of used quite a lot for small businesses, and it made email very easy to send for people who weren't very technical, and there wasn't really anything on the market at the time that did that. It's kind of continued to do that very well, where it plugs into a lot of things, and it's very easy to set up. And if you are sending emails to a kind of small list of people, and that is your main activity, it's still a very good system for that, I think. The difficulty is as the kind of the web has progressed over the past 8 years, and as websites have got more integrated and there's more functionality come through. So we've seen Squarespace kind of constantly add features. We've seen the likes of Shopify come through and really add their offering. Same with like BigCommerce or Wix to a certain extent, I guess, as well, and like other web builders out there. I just think that Mailchimp has kind of not adapted quickly enough and has kind of remained that extremely simple to use, very visually friendly, very kind of simple kind of product offering. But it's not really gone beyond that. It's not really gone beyond that simplicity, and it's struggled to keep up with the added features that a Shopify store demands, or that a Squarespace store demands, or if you're running your own event series or kind of like lead generation and you've got a CRM plugged in, it just suddenly starts falling apart and can't really do that. Even if your business is incredibly simple, there are very basic things you want to do that you can't do.
Yeah, and I think also it's worth mentioning that there's a lot of things out there that Mailchimp doesn't do that I would say most of the customers in Mailchimp don't even know is possible because they've never looked anywhere else. So we used to just send out a newsletter and an ad hoc announcements with Mailchimp, and for that it is really good. You can track opens, you can resend. It's absolutely brilliant. But I guess recently what's happened is they've made a couple of decisions that have really made it very difficult to use. So a couple of years ago, for some reason, they decided they were going to make landing pages and they were going to enable you to push out Instagram ads and Facebook ads, and they allow you to make sign-up forms and lots of stuff that on the face of it is useful, but actually isn't actually any use to pretty much anybody, because people already have a website and they already use Facebook Ads Manager and they're already doing all this other stuff. So it all became very supplementary. And I think the time and effort they put into developing those elements of what is now Mailchimp, actually they forgot about the base of why people were using it, and that was to send email. So I think the main thing that's been a real concern recently is they've reshuffled the pricing. They've mucked about with campaigns. They've forced everybody to consolidate their lists. They weirdly encouraged people to delete a load of data. We know a couple of clients who deleted loads of stuff because Mailchimp sent them an email saying they needed to do something, and they've cleaned up their list and deleted the first name field and all sorts, just in a complete drunken madness. And we know lots of people who've just really recently been completely taken for a ride by all these different Mailchimp features. So they made something that was working. They've tried to consolidate it, but the problem is, in my mind, they've just made it really complicated to understand now. So although, yes, it is still simple to log in, write an email and send it, that's great. And if all you want to do is do that, then that's brilliant. But I think also the other thing that a lot of people won't realize is that you could also be linking this to website activity. So Mailchimp, I think, is probably the only provider now that doesn't track user activity on the website. So, for example, if I go to the website and then sign up to Mailchimp, no, sorry, yeah. So if I go to the website, I sign up to your email newsletter, then you send me an email, and then I go back to the website. Mailchimp can't link the fact that the visit I made before I signed up and the visit I made after I signed up are by the same person. It doesn't know. Every other mail provider out there, pretty much all the good ones, do. They use on-site tracking to work out what's going on.
Just to give a very quick example of why that's really useful and really important is in like showing people pop-up forms. So I've had it quite often where I've seen like you can see the fairly basic Mailchimp template pop up for small retailers, and I'm getting these messages on sites that I'm already a subscriber to, and that's really frustrating for me as an experience. And it is quite simple things like, well, you've already got my email address. I visited you 2 days ago. You know this. Don't show it to me. So I think that's where like it has been left behind in that. Not race, but that kind of development where it's like, well, if you're using Klaviyo or kind of some of the other ones we're going to talk on later, it's very easy to exclude your existing subscribers from seeing those pop-up forms on future page visits, which just makes it a far nicer experience for them.
I think also one of the big things, I mean, recently, obviously, we've done a couple of podcasts now about Klaviyo. So much so that I'm now getting podcast adverts for Klaviyo rather than Mailchimp, which is quite funny. But essentially, if you are using an e-commerce business, then I think they're pretty much the biggest tool of choice in my mind. They've definitely got the workflow absolutely sorted, and the stuff you can do with follow-on emails, upsells, cross-sells, abandoned carts, all this sort of stuff is just next level. If you've not used it before and you're still using Mailchimp, I would open a new tab right now, type in Klaviyo and get on it, because you won't look back. Switching over will be probably an enormous boost to your business. I think we can probably do a whole other podcast just on what Klaviyo is able to do in terms of workflows and upsells. But essentially, you can apply that same awesomeness, to use a ridiculous term, but like you can apply the same great stuff with a program like Sendinblue or Drip or ConvertKit or OmniSend. All of those are really good programs. They're all great offerings, and what they do is they link on-site activity with email marketing. They also then trigger using great tools like Eventbrite, like Facebook. You can make website forms that trigger different workflows. You can link all this stuff together to do all of this marketing for you. And I think that's what really impressed me. I've not really given much time or effort to looking into email programs for a while, mainly because Mailchimp has worked quite well. And then the other day I went to make what used to be called Workflow, now is called bafflingly Journey. And I tried to make a journey, and I said, right, I want someone who gets this email. Now, if they don't open it, I want to send them the same email again. That's not a very technical or unreasonable thing to do. With Mailchimp journeys, that's not possible. So I thought, oh, that's weird. So what if they click a link? Can I then send them a different email to if they don't click the link? Because it's like if I click a link and someone then goes to a page and learns about something, I don't then want to send them another email with that same information in again. It was like you were saying earlier with a pop-up. It's like you don't want to confuse people. You want to go on a natural flow, a journey, if you will. The problem is if you're not able to direct the emails based on what people do, then it's not really a journey. It's just a series of emails that you send, which Mailchimp had a perfectly good tool for. Now they've turned that off. You have to use journeys. But the thing with journey is it's not a journey at all. Nothing about Mailchimp journeys is a journey. It's just, here is a series of emails you're going to receive, and we've put these boxes in between that are if and, but it's if nothing, else nothing. There's no choices to be made. It's just, I genuinely don't get it. The box that you want to use is there, but it's greyed out. So there's a box that says if the user has clicked on the last email, and it's a grey box and it just says this feature is not available. And it's just like, so they know people want it, they're just not going to give it to you. And to me, that was just enraging. I was like, right, that's it. What else is out there? And I ended up moving to Drip because that does everything I want to do. And that actually has a proper user journey, which they call workflows, has a proper workflow builder in there. I also looked at ConvertKit and found that to be very good. But have you got any other experience other than sort of Klaviyo with email?
Honestly, not really. I think Klaviyo is kind of just what I go to and reach for every time now. I think there's two. I mean, one of the things that I want to talk to you about next is kind of how easy you found it leaving Mailchimp and moving your data across to these new systems. Because one of my clients sometime last year, we moved over to Klaviyo, and the process was incredibly easy in the fact that you hook up Klaviyo to the Mailchimp API, which sounds far more technical than it is. Basically, what that means is you copy a code from one box and put it in another box and click save.
Yeah.
And then Klaviyo just hoovers up all that data from Mailchimp, including open data and all that stuff, does its own kind of analysis on it, and then tells you when you can stop Mailchimp. And it will sit there and it manages that entire process for you very simply. It was so easy, I didn't believe it worked, essentially, and I had to kind of go in and look at the data and be like, okay, no, they are definitely here. I'm now going to turn it off.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, that's the only experience I have, and it is very simple. What about, how did you find that process for Drip?
When I moved to Drip, they have a Mailchimp importer.
Okay.
So you click, would you like to move from Mailchimp? You click yes. You authenticate. You click one button, and then it just says, okay, give us half hour, we'll be back.
Yeah.
And then it's just a page, and
like
it just sits there, and then all of your contacts are in. It's all moved. So
it's a bit of hoovering.
I would say the easiest bit was moving from Mailchimp. What took time is the fact that the email designing tool is subtly different, and getting used to the way that works. Now, it's really subtle. On Mailchimp, your email is on the left and your settings are on the right. In Drip, your email is on the right and your settings are on the left. Sounds ridiculous, but when you've been using it for years, that subtle change took me, I'm still confuses me every single time. Other than that, though, everything else was very intuitive. The guides were really good. I did also do the demo for ConvertKit, I will say. The only reason I didn't go with ConvertKit is because it's mainly landing page based. So that means you'd have your website of pages, and every time you want to capture data to use with email marketing, they recommend you build a landing page, which has one of their lovely forms on. And those pages are great. They're really they're lovely, and they're template driven, and they look fantastic. They do the job. But to me, that gives me two things to maintain. Now, I use Gravity Forms in WordPress because I'm a nerd, and that ties in with Drip. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's okay. So the one thing I would say is that the Drip WordPress plugin is completely useless. So if you are using WordPress, you are going to need a developer to get you into Drip. So that's why I would say if you are not au fait with websites, I would use ConvertKit because it just handles all of it for you, and you're just going to do everything on ConvertKit, and it ties in with everything, and it talks to all the different things for you. The only reason I went with Drip is because I've got web experience. I know how to tie these things together, and I want to keep all of my landing page data where it is. I just want Drip to send the email. So I was looking for a very specific tool, and that's what I found in Drip. Having said that, if you're using something like Squarespace or another platform, that they do have little HTML forms that pop in. You can't really style them. Again, this is all very detailed stuff. But ultimately, what I think I was going to say as a sort of summary would be, if you are just sending email newsletters out and you like the way it looks, and you just pop in once a week, once a month, and you send out an email and everybody's happy with that, then bam, off you go. Just stick with MailChimp. Don't rock the boat. If, however, you're like, I would like it so when someone signs up, I can send them this email, then this email. If they then become a member, or if they then make a purchase, I'd like to stop sending them those emails. You need to move from MailChimp. If you're an e-commerce store, and it's like, if someone buys this product, I'd like to email them about this product and this product and this and this and this, or I'd like to send them a video, or you need to move to Klaviyo. The one thing I will say, just as a word of warning, is you can't use Klaviyo for lead gen because it doesn't compute. It's all based around products and categories, and So
I was going to say, I think that's my main thing to say is just sit down and make a list of things you might want to do with your emails and kind of data sources. So if you're running things on Eventbrite, or if you've got like a CRM system, even if it's a really basic one, or if you've got kind of web forms that you want to customize responses to. So as Simon says, like you might just have a contact form on your website that you want it to, if they kind of don't open the email that you send back to them after on that automation, then you might want something to happen. That's a very simple thing to do, but it'll be quite difficult to set up in anything. Be very easy to set up in anything but Mailchimp, and very difficult in Mailchimp. So if you're thinking of kind of customizing the user journey post-email sign-up in any way, whether that's contact forms or sign-up forms or introduction, welcome email series, stuff like that, you want to look at moving away. If you are e-commerce, then Klaviyo is the way to go. If you're not e-commerce, then there are many email service providers, so ESPs out there.
Yeah.
But I think just write a physical list of the things you want to do, like a shopping list, and then look at all the providers, because otherwise you will get confused and overwhelmed with the options. So flip it round, write down what you need and what you want, and then find something that's suitable.
And I think also that's a really good advice, I think, because I wrote a long list of stuff, and in the demo I did 8 out of the 10 things on my list, let's say. And then there was one thing I didn't do, and I wish I'd done it sooner, because if I had, we may not have gone with drip.
Right.
And that is because, this is quite nerdy, but in Zapier, you can't add first name.
Oh, right. That's weird.
Right. I was like,
Zapier's normally pretty good for that.
I was like, I was so close, but I'd already moved. So I had to find a workaround, which was to use automate.io, which does have first name. So I just had to make a nerdy workaround, but this is the benefit of being at the sort of nerd level we're operating at, is we can deal with that. But the reason I mention it is because I don't want you to get caught out with doing this as a listener. You might be thinking, oh, I'll just do this and this. On the demo, do everything. Link it to everything. Link it to Eventbrite. Make it so when you buy a ticket, you send them this. Try it out. Obviously, don't send it. Just add one person to your list and make that person you, and just try everything before you get your credit card out and pay for it. Just make sure it really does do everything. Don't take their promise for it. Because if you look at the marketing material for customer journeys on Mailchimp, they say you can make a workflow based on whether people open your emails. When you get to it, you can't. And I tried Send in Blue. Send in Blue wouldn't accept my card, because you have to put a card into the demo. Wouldn't accept my card, so that was the end of that demo. Omnisend was trying to get me to set up an SMS provider.
Yeah,
So I don't want to do that. So that lost their demo for me as well. And then I sort of bypassed that, but I couldn't work out their workflow thing. Omnisend. It was had little arrows and boxes, and was weird. Whereas Drip, I was hooked as soon as I was like, oh, this is fun. It's like a little flow chart, and it was just so intuitive that I didn't even need to watch any of the videos. I just clicked it, and we've got like 5 workflows. I've got more workflows set up now than we had in Mailchimp, because it's so easy.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the thing, is find something that's easy and kind of works for what you want to do, but just be clear on what you're trying to achieve, rather than getting carried away with sales pitches and features.
Yeah, I think that is the key. And I think in terms of pricing, people often say, oh, it's very expensive. And I'm like, well, 30 quid isn't expensive. 50 quid a month isn't expensive if it works. 50 quid a month for Mailchimp is expensive because it doesn't add any value. There's no return on investment really from Mailchimp, because it's incredibly hard to measure, because it doesn't tie in with anything. Whereas now I can tell whether someone becomes a member based on whether they open an email. And that, to me, means I can attach a value to it. So for me, 30 quid isn't expensive, because I can actually attach it to a conversion. So I think,
exactly,
your email list is a real asset for your business. We've spoken about this a couple of times when, if you grow a list, you own the list. It's yours. Like, I've proven that, because the mailing list doesn't belong to Mailchimp, because I've just moved it and they couldn't stop me doing it, because it's my data. That asset is mine. I can't take my Facebook followers and download them and upload them to Twitter yet. So it's not an asset. You can't move that. Whereas your email list is a huge asset to your business. So growing it, developing it, and turning it into something with a measurable return on investment, especially in e-commerce, is work and time and investment well spent, I would say.
Agreed. I think that's the thing. Email list should always be saving you time with automations or growing your business through automations.
Yeah.
So as you say, 50 quid a month to do that. If it's bringing you in more than £50 of value,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think most good stuff now is 30 to 50 quid a month.
Yeah, it's not expensive. Klaviyo is not expensive.
No, I
It's
think
about the same
Klaviyo is
as
about the
Mailchimp,
same. They're all about the same price now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're still chugging away on free and aren't willing to move, then ultimately you're going to be stuck there for years. You're never going to grow. So, if you've got any questions about email platforms or how to get them implemented, or you would like to know anything else about what we've rambled on about today in terms of, we've mentioned a lot of things about workflows and automations and things like that. We could literally talk all day and all night about emails and all this sort of stuff. So if you've got any specific questions, we'd love to know. Either drop them in the comments or get in touch with us on LinkedIn. We're happy to do a bit more of a deep dive into some of these subjects if people want to hear about it, so do let us know. We are also going to be returning to guest podcasts very soon, so if you've got any suggestions or you'd like to be a guest yourself, then do get in touch, because we'd love to build up our guest list for the upcoming guest shows. So yeah, do send those in. Yes, until next time, give us a quick subscribe if you can, because it really helps us be discovered by other customers. But until then, have fun, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.